welcome back to the Homebody Podcast, where we explore deeper layers of healing, nervous system health, and mental well-being. I'm Anna, and if you've ever felt like talking about your anxiety sometimes makes it worse, today's episode is for you. So we're going to explore how to calm anxiety without even having to talk about it. We're going to use body-based tools that work directly with your nervous system, because sometimes when our minds are racing and they're going a million miles an hour and we're feeling overwhelmed, we need to start with the body first. You don't need more thinking. You need a way to feel safe again. So let's dive into today's episode. So first, let's talk about sometimes why talk therapy or even journaling can fall short when we're in the thick of anxiety. Think of that anxiety spiral where everything feels like it's coming in on you, or it's too big and it's too messy and too chaotic to kind of tackle. When we experience anxiety, it's not just a thought problem. It's not just this emotional cognitive problem. It's a nervous system response. It's a physiological response to something that is stressing you out. Our body can get stuck in this fight or flight or freeze mode. And when that happens, the part of our brain that is responsible for that logical thought process, that kind of really analytical part of the brain that includes language, is called the prefrontal cortex. That actually goes offline. So even if we try to talk ourselves out of the anxious feelings, we can't think our way back to safety. And here's where the limbic system, the emotional part of our brain, plays a really big role. It stores emotional memories and is responsible for our survival responses. So when we're anxious, this part of our brain is running the show. And this is why body-based or somatic tools that bypass the thinking mind and work directly with the nervous system are often more effective at calming anxiety in the moment. So what does it mean to speak the body's language? Unlike our thinking brain, the body communicates through a different kind of lens, through sensation, through movement, through breath and rhythm. And this is why learning to tune into our body's sensation and gently shifting them can help regulate anxiety without ever needing to put words to it. So for example, you might notice sensations like a tightness in your breath, or shallow breathing, or racing heart, tingling or numbness in your face or hands. Rather than trying to explain these feelings cognitively and intellectually, we can work with those sensations and feelings and that physiological state that you find yourself in by using specific nervous system tools. So I'm going to share a few powerful ones that you can start using straight away. So some of my favorite body-based tools for calming anxiety without even thinking about it is pursed lip breathing. So if you are just listening to this instead of watching this, then I encourage you to jump on over to YouTube so that you can watch this as well. But this really helps. Pursed lip breathing really helps slow down your exhale. So your exhale is part of your parasympathetic nervous system. When we inhale, that is our sympathetic nervous system. So when we elongate our exhale, we are activating our parasympathetic nervous system. So how you do it is you're going to inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. And then you're going to purse your lips as if you were gently blowing out a candle. And then you're going to exhale very slowly as you possibly can through your lips for a count of 6 to plus 8, 10, however many seconds you can push that exhale out for. And then repeat for a few minutes until you feel that shift in your nervous system. So what this looks like is we inhale through our nose for a count of 4. And then we purse our lips. And exhale as long as possible. Now, pursing your lips is really, really beneficial because it actually helps you slow down that exhale, and you're moving the air much slower through your lips. It gives you something tactile to feel as well, and it allows you to actually count your breath, because when we're in an anxious state, our breathing increases. And when we slow down our exhale and we can actually hear our exhale leaving our lips, it helps us physiologically send that biofeedback from our body back to our brain that everything is safe and that our parasympathetic nervous system can actually come back online. So the first one is pursed lip breathing. The next one is co-synchronized breathing. So this is to do with someone else that you have in your life, someone that you feel safe with, or you can watch this video and you can co-synchronize your breathing with me. So if you have a safe person nearby, this is really powerful. Co-regulation. As humans, we are interdependent people, which means that we rely on having relationships, connections, intimacy, community around us, right? So our nervous systems are really wired for connection and is one of the fastest routes to getting our vagus nerve happy, healthy, connected, and strong. And it is also one of the fastest ways to calm down a dysregulated nervous system. So breathing in sync with someone that you feel safe with is a really powerful way to regulate both people. So if you are the person that is in a dysregulated state, you are essentially borrowing from someone else's regulated nervous system to use for yourself, and vice versa. If you are regulated and you're breathing with someone who is dysregulated, then they are borrowing from your regulated nervous system. So here's how you're going to do it. You're going to sit next to your partner or friend, or even place a hand on your pet, and you're going to begin to match your breathing to theirs, slowly and gently syncing your inhales and your exhales together. So whatever that breathing pace is, it doesn't have to be a specific 6 to 8 count. It just is matching and syncing those breathing patterns. So even a few minutes of this can create a sense of calm and connection. So that is co-synchronized breathing or co-regulation. The next one that I want to share with you is a really, really easy, powerful, and effective tool for shifting you out of that sympathetic state back into that ventral vagal state of safety, and that is candle gazing. So this is kind of a mindfulness practice that focuses the mind and body on a single point, but the red light that comes from a flame, so a candle or a fireplace, is really powerful in shifting the nervous system into that parasympathetic state. So how to do this is to simply light a candle, and you're going to sit comfortably in front of it, so a couple of feet away from your candle. You're going to gaze softly at the flame. So soften your gaze, reduce your focus, focusing in on just that flickering glow. And you'll notice that your eyes naturally kind of fade in and out of being able to focus on something that is moving in front of you like the flame. So if your mind wanders, you're just going to gently bring it back to the flame. And this helps bring your body back into stillness and creates a calming rhythm. The next practice that I want to share with you is orienting to the room. So this is something that I use all of the time with my clients. It's how I start most of my workshops. And this is how we can kind of create a sense of safety, especially if you are someone that finds yourself in the flight response quite often and you're looking for ways out. So if you find that you go to like a social gathering, for example, and you're like looking around trying to make sure you know where the bathrooms are, you know where the exits are, so you can make a quick getaway if you find yourself in an awkward situation or you just need to get out of that, then this is a really great one for you. But it's also a really powerful one if you are just in that sympathetic state as well. So we're bringing our sense of safety back into our body. And how you're going to do this is you are physically going to look around the room that you were in, and you're going to make it an intentional process to notice things. What's hanging on the wall? Is there any artwork? Are there any plants? Are there mirrors? Maybe there's some clothes around. Maybe there's a couch. What's the texture of the couch? Just noticing. And you're going to do this and you're going to turn all the way around. So do a full 360 and not just turning your head, but turning your shoulders with your head as well. So you want to do this so that you are teaching yourself that you are taking in your environment and noticing that there are no points of danger in your environment. And this helps remind your body that you are safe in the right here and now. To add a kind of bonus to that, if you can feel points of contact whilst you are orienting to your room, that's even better, right? So you're creating connection with the earth, you're grounding yourself into your body, and just to ground yourself at the same time that you are looking around. So just noticing what it feels like to kind of put a bit of pressure on your big toe, to kind of shift your weight between feet as well, noticing that point of connection on the palm of your foot. I don't know if that's the right word, the balls of your feet and the heels of your feet, what it feels like to be in your shoe, what that pressure is underneath your foot as you are turning and taking in the room. And now at the end of that kind of orienting practice, I like to settle my eyes on something that looks novel or nice or just colorful or something that's just interesting to look at, and just take a few moments to really take that in, to have a sensory experience of that object. So for example, I can see my acupressure mat in my room right now. I can see the orange spikes. I can see the texture of the material underneath it. I can see that it is a rectangle. the spikes are kind of all lining up in a slight curve as well. So just noticing all of these different things. And if I can add to that, I can also go, oh, what would it feel like if I was touching that acupressure mat right now, just to really have that sensory experience whilst you orient to your space. The next one and the last one that I want to share with you, I feel like if you have followed me, if you know me, then shaking or movement is my go-to. It is the thing that I feel like has the fastest route to shifting an anxious state of your nervous system, that sympathetic, physiological, increased, mobilized energy state. Shaking or movement is a beautiful way to discharge and release that anxious energy. So the best way to do this, and I encourage you with any of these exercises, this is a huge caveat that I should have done beforehand, is to experiment. Just experiment and try it out. Come at it from a learner's perspective. You don't have to love the exercise that you try first and foremost. You're trying to find something that feels neutral or good. So if something feels neutral, good. If something feels good, great. Right? But if it has that kind of response where you feel even maybe more elevated afterwards, or it just isn't your jam at all, then I encourage you to just leave that exercise and you can come back to it another time, or you don't have to come back to it at all, right? So that exercise is just not for you. It's not a reflection of you or anything being wrong with you. It is just not for you in this current moment, okay? So back to shaking and movement. So we're discharging energy. So anything that has that frenetic, mobilized energy that we can utilize in a movement-based way is going to be really powerful. And shaking it or dancing, as I like to do, is a great way to do that. So just standing up and just starting to shake out your arms, shake out your legs, shake out your head. If you're just listening to this, you can't see me, but I'm shaking my head around. Bouncing gently on your feet, so up on the balls of your feet, bouncing up and down. You can let your body move in whatever way feels most natural to you in releasing that tension. You might find that doing air squats feels really good to you, or running up and down on the spot, or even just going for a walk, so that bilateral rhythmic movement. Find what works best for you and just practice and see how it feels. So maybe you do it for 30 seconds and you don't quite feel that shift. And so you do it for another 30 seconds. So I encourage you to kind of do it in like 30 to 60 second bursts. And then in the middle of it, you can sway like a piece of bamboo from side to side. You can even put your hand on your heart just to notice what is going on in my body. You kind of need those pauses to see if that shift has actually occurred. So you're dropping into your body. How do I now feel? If my anxiety was at an 8 before, is it maybe at a 7 now? Can I do a little bit more of this discharging movement? Can I use a different resource to continue to downregulate my nervous system? So one of the most important takeaways that I want you to leave today with is that you, as an individual, are not broken for feeling anxious. Anxiety is one of the most natural states or nervous system responses to experience, right? Every single person in the world is going to experience anxiety at some point. We all have anxious moments. And the reason being is that anxiety is a functional state, right? When we mobilize, when we're in that sympathetic state, it is mobilizing our energy resources to take action, right? So we notice that there is something that is causing a potential signal of danger, and then we mobilize all of our energy to deal with that danger, right? What happens is when we start to experience anxiety as opposed to just feeling anxious is that we don't deal with that mobilizing energy. So our body is like, hey, here's all this energy to deal with this stressor. But we either ignore it, or we don't have the capacity to discharge it, or we ignore the trigger point in and of itself. So we're, say we go to work and there's someone at work that's causing stresses in our day-to-day life, and we're constantly exposed to that stressor, and that alarm bell is just continuously going off, but you can't remove yourself entirely from that. This is where anxiety starts to creep in, right? So it's a natural nervous system response system in order for you to take action. And healing, or your personal experience with anxiety, doesn't mean that you're never going to feel anxious again, right? It means that you're learning how to move through these different nervous system states and nurture your nervous system, meet your nervous system where it's at when it is in those states. So we need to feel anxious from time to time. We need to be able to mobilize that energy and take action. We need to be able to move back into that state of safety as well. So we need to be able to notice these different states and go, right, my body is mobilized to take action. How can I nurture my nervous system in this state to bring myself back down to a sense of safety, right? So the goal is not to never be anxious, but to build resilience within the nervous system to move through each of these states without spiraling or getting stuck in them. So these body-based tools can be a really great step to take within your own nervous system when words aren't working for you, when you feel too overwhelmed, or when you simply just want to support your nervous system gently and within that nervous system approach, right? And remember, the more that we practice these tools, practice, when we are calm. And the reason why I can't stress this enough is that when we are in a sympathetic state, our brain and our body and our nervous system are not open to learning. We're not designed to learn when we're in a state of stress response. We're not designed to learn when we think that there is danger around. We need to harness the tools that we already have in order to keep ourselves safe, right? So when we're in that calm state, this is where we can learn. Now, even if you feel like you are anxious all of the time, I can guarantee that there are pockets within your day that you are not in that anxious state. And that might be when you're in the shower or on the toilet, or you're just hanging out with friends. Utilize these moments so that you can practice these resources and tools so that when you are in that heightened state, they're far easier for you to access them when anxiety does hit. So think of it like training your body to feel safe again. So as we wrap up, I invite you to pick one of these tools, try it out, notice how your body responds, and be gentle with yourself and share with me, which one did you practice? What did it feel like? Did it feel like it was regulating for you? Did you feel like you could discharge some of that excess energy? I'd love to hear from you. You can connect with me at Anna the Anxiety Coach on Instagram. You can drop a comment below this podcast episode. You can reach me via email at support@AnnaTheAnxietyCoach. But let me know how this episode hit for you. And just remember that your nervous system regulation is a practice, not perfection. I'll see you in the next episode.